In this video, we want to talk about a metal, and to understand it, we have to go very much back in time. A metal that has been around for more than 11,000 years. Copper. If you look at the periodic table, you can find copper right here, number 29, which is identified as Cu, and that's the Latin version of copper. A lot of historians believe that copper is the first metal that humans began to use, and their proof is this, which is an ancient copper tool that's more than 11,000 years old, and it was found in the northern part of modern-day Iraq. Other historians believe that the first metal used by humans is gold and iron, but unfortunately, there's not a 100% chance you could prove that. The only thing we have proof of is this old artifact that belongs to 11,000 years ago, and it's made from copper. Maybe there's a chance you could find an ancient artifact that's older than 11,000 years old, and it's made from iron or gold or any other metal. Then at that point, that could be proof that there's older metals than copper. But right now it's looking like copper is still in the number one place. When you get around 7500 BC, meaning more than 9,500 years ago, using copper has been normalized, especially in Mesopotamia, and that's all the way north to south of it. It has become obvious that around this time, copper is very popular. Using copper was special to Mesopotamia for thousands of years, and it was not found anywhere else until a few millennia passed by, around 5,000 years ago, and that's about 4,000 years later. This is the time where the Chinese finally start using copper to their advantage and build different things with it. And it's good to know that the last place on Earth that discovered using copper is in South America, which happened around 600 AD. This body you're seeing is a natural mummy, and it was found in the northern part of Italy in the Alps mountains. This mummy has an age of more than 5,200 years, and it is interesting because when the body was found, in his right hand there was an axe made of copper, and it was 99.7% pure. You could say this man had a tool in his hands that was very advanced for its time, because he had access to different equipment and knowledge that could purify copper this much. To purify copper to this degree, it is insane, especially for back then. So you have to know that this man had access to advanced knowledge on how to build this tool, much more than anywhere else in the world. You could say around this time, smelting began to happen, where they actually purify the metal rather than mix it with other things. Any gold or iron you find around this era, it is never as pure as the copper found. When you get to around 7,000 years ago, this is when humans mix copper and tin together and create another alloy called bronze. If you've seen our video about tin, we spoke about how bronze is made and how important it is because it started the Bronze Age. You could find bronze in that era in all types of civilizations, from the Balkans to the Middle East and Egypt. The biggest ancient copper mine was this island, Cyprus. Right now you can find copper everywhere, but at that time the biggest mine was in Cyprus. The name Cyprus comes from an ancient word for copper as well. The Romans called copper coprum, and they also gave this name to the island Cyprus because they had got to know this place just because of copper. The more we move forward, the more modernized the Latin word coprum gets, and it turns into Cyprus. And in the year 1530, the British start calling this metal copper, which stands to this day, but the island stays Cyprus. Copper never got as expensive as silver or gold, but it was always a very important metal throughout history, and since it was easy to work with, it made it even better. When you come to present times, not only did copper not lose its value, but it got much more valuable and more expensive. In the electronics industry and other technology, copper is one of the most important metals, from computers to wiring cables, batteries, car batteries, and many more things. Using copper in electronics nowadays has worried experts because they say the rate we are moving forward, in the year 2030, we're gonna have a shortage of 5 million tons of copper, and that means the demand for copper is going up every day. The electric cars aren't helping either. A lot of governments, especially in Western countries, have started a movement called electrification, where they want to turn everything electric, and it would be perfect. The entire goal is to get rid of fossil fuel. Other experts say, wow, this is a great idea on paper. We turn everything electric and we're gonna live in heaven. It is true that we will stop using fossil fuels in this case, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna cause any pollution. Like for example, you have to mine a lot of minerals, copper, and other metals like lithium, nickel, and cobalt. Isn't it better to use fossil fuels rather than pollute our earth even more? This group of people and experts believe that electrifying everything is not only going to make everything worse, but it's going to pollute even more than fossil fuels. The opposition says no, electrifying everything is better. Another green energy is windmills. Windmills use more copper than any other thing on Earth. But let's get back to the metal itself. Copper is the third most recycled metal on Earth, and 80% of the copper used today was mined throughout human history. In some times in history, they didn't even mine for copper, they just used what they had and kept recycling it. But when technology took over and a lot of copper was needed, that's when the mining began. Just like we said, this is the third most recycled metal on Earth. In first place, we have aluminum, and in second place, we have iron. Copper does not rust whatsoever, and the reason bronze doesn't rust is because of the copper that's in it. If copper wants to rust, it's gonna take a very long time, and it corrodes in a way that it turns green, and you could clean it up once again. So the copper piping is gonna stay clean unless you put chemicals or acidic materials down the drain. And in that case, it's not gonna corrode it, but it's gonna destroy it. In simple terms, the chemical would eat the copper up. Do you see the statue? The Statue of Liberty in New York that was gifted by the French. The height of this thing is 93 meters from the ground, and the statue itself is 46 meters tall. More than 82 tons of copper was used to make this statue. If copper is not present in gold jewelry, then it's not possible, because gold is a very soft metal and you could bend it back and forth, but the copper makes it actually stiff and a proper jewelry. Like for example, the 18 karat or 24 karat is the amount of gold inside it. 18 karat gold is actually 75% gold, 12.5% silver, and 12.5% copper. 24 karat gold is 99.99% gold, and the rest of it is copper to make it harder. When copper pots and pans were used back in the day, they realized that some people would get sick, and they slowly realized that it's actually the copper pots that is doing that. When too much copper inserts your body, it goes to the liver, and if the contents is too much, it could even cause liver failure. You might say, I cook in copper pans or back in the day they always used copper pots. You have to know that if you cook different types of things that are not acidic, then it's not gonna cause any harm and not a lot of copper is gonna insert your food. But if you want to create a type of stew that has a lot of lemon or acidic food inside it, then it might cause damage and insert a lot of copper in your food, which is bad for you. But in a lot of places when you buy copper pots and pans, it's lined silver inside it, and that's because they lined it with tin. Right now the price of copper is about $8.38 per kilogram, but it seems like after COVID-19 it really took off. Like for example, in 2019 it was $4.50 per kilo, but 4 years later it damn near doubled.